Okay. All right, well, it is 6 o'clock and we do have a quorum. So I would like to officially call this meeting to order. If everyone could stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fantastic. All right, thank you so much. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has council had the opportunity to review the minutes? We have quite a few of them.
Yes.
Okay, if you are all comfortable, we can do this in one big swoop if you want. If you guys have all reviewed it, do I have someone brave enough to take on that motion?
Madam Mayor, I do have one possible change. If I can get to the right.
Danielle, do we do that before we make a motion or
Okay,
after?
I'm sorry.
No, I just need clarification.
Yeah.
You can certainly talk about them before the motion is made. I do believe I know what Councilman Jenkins is looking at. There was a motion that was recorded in there as him having voted against the item, and I don't recall that, and I meant to reach out and ask, and I
did. Yes, I did vote against that item. What I was referring to was there's one minutes, and I'm trying to find which one it is. That's it has the former council member Matt Simpson and Emily Mudd Hendricks on the list of attendees.
Okay, I'll
Believe it's
through those,
yeah,
and if you want to do a motion to say to make that correction, then we can do that, and I'll make that change.
It's the June 8th, 2021 meeting minutes closed session at 7 p.m.
That's correct.
Thank you for that. The template still has those, and that I missed taking that out of there. So I appreciate that review.
No problem.
All right, if anybody would like to make a motion with that correction, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the 9 sets of meeting minutes from the month of June with the modification and correction to June 8th closed session discussing state government article subsection 3-305B1I.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second the motion.
Fantastic, thank you. Any further discussion? We have the one modification we will make. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to our next item on the agenda, which is our public forum. If anybody would like to speak this evening, I ask that you state your name, your address, whether you live within the incorporated town limits, and please keep it to 3 minutes. Do I have anybody that would like to speak this evening? Okay, hearing none, we will go into our monthly reports. Chief, you are up first.
Good morning, or good morning. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Our officers responded to 1,056 calls for service in June. This is the first time the agency has exceeded the 1,000 calls in a month since the beginning of the pandemic. Officers investigated 22 Part 1 offenses and 17 Part 2 offenses. In June, we experienced a case closure rate of 42% on our Part 1 crimes and 59% on the Part 2. Our officers arrested 20 adults for various criminal violations. As far as training this month, since the last time we met, Corporal Bradley Smith and PFC Brendan Smith were certified as pepperball instructors. The training was held at the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. Sergeant Robert Bagley and PFC David Royce attended Glock Armorer School. The training was held at the Maryland Police and Correctional Training Commissions in Sykesville. PFC David Clements attended Basic Instructor School. The training was held at the Maryland Police and Correctional Training Commission in Sykesville. PFC Clements will start teaching first aid and CPR, and we offer that to any of the town staff that might need that training. Activities on July 10th, LPPD held its annual Stuff a Squad Car event to support Lifestyles of Maryland's annual summer meals program. A large quantity of food was collected. Members of the department, our Explorer Post, and Lifestyles of Maryland participated in the collection. On July 10th, our Honor Guard, as the council, most of the council was able to join us, presented the nation's colors at the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs Law Enforcement Appreciation Game. In partnership with Pathfinders for Autism, Lifestyles of Maryland, the Charles County Health Department, the Charles County Sheriff's Office, and Texas Roadhouse, LPPD held an autism awareness event on July 14th, 2021. Both Mayor James and I were asked to give interviews about the importance for autism awareness, and it'll be part of an overall video that Pathfinders is making to educate people about its recent DIP challenge. Our Explorer advisors and several of our Explorers traveled to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, to participate in the National Public Safety Cadet Conference. The Explorers, they're back now, participated in competitive practical skills to include force options, response to unknown troubles, air pistols, active shooter, arrest and search, burglary in progress, crisis intervention, vehicle stops, officer rescue, bicycle patrol, and individual tactical courses. I've since spoke to 2 of the Explorers and 2 of the advisors, and the Explorers are walking about 1.5 feet off the ground. They had a wonderful time down there, and it was very educational for them. Sergeant Posey and Sergeant Thompson are helping recruit and mold the future police officers of this nation. As far as letters of commendations and awards, on July 12th, 2021, Police Officer First Class David Clements and Officer Logan Warren were working targeted radar enforcement on Oak Avenue. Upon stopping a speeding vehicle, a strong odor of marijuana was detected emanating from the passenger cabin. During the search, the occupant made a furtive movement. The officers investigated and located a handgun. The handgun was stolen through an agency in North Carolina. Both the gun and the marijuana was seized. The department was very happy to be notified by the Maryland Chiefs of Police Association's Award Committee that Officer David Royce will receive an Exceptional Police Performance Award at the joint meetings of the Chiefs and Sheriffs Associations in October. This award is conferred upon a police officer who has made an outstanding contribution towards keeping the community safe by performing an exceptional amount of and/or quality of police activity, and you can see the rest that's listed there. What's important to note that only 3 police officers each year in the state of Maryland are selected for this award. There's about 16,000 police officers in the state. So we're very proud of David and the work that he has done. Upcoming events, August 3rd is National Night Out. August 21st is the 8th annual Kent Avenue Block Party. It's actually shaping up very nice, and it looks like we're going to have more partners than we ever had participating this year. Anybody who has questions or knows somebody who might like to participate can reach out to Lieutenant Payne or myself. And as always, our officers and explorers will be assisting with town concerts and other events as we move through the summer. And that's the end of my report. If anybody has any questions.
Chief, I do have a question. First of all, you guys are doing an outstanding job, so thank you so much for that. You mentioned that you had over 1,000, I'm hearing an echo, over 1,000 calls. How does that compare, and that was since COVID, how does that compare usually to the kids being out of school? Is that normal? Is that very high?
Mayor, it's a really good question. We see a spike usually July, August, and September. And then October, it slows a little bit. And then as we get into the holiday season, we usually spike back up over 1,000 calls. it kind of balances out in February when it's a short month and it's really cold outside, and we answer about 600 calls. But it ebbs and flows like anything else in government or law enforcement.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Jenkins, I see you have your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, again, thank you for the report and all the great work. I guess I would just have two comments. I appreciate the opportunity to watch the color guard at the baseball game. They looked very good, and I'm sure they were hot waiting, but it was an outstanding performance. We appreciate that. And then I'm sure we all believe this. Pass on our congratulations to Officer Royce about his award. That's phenomenal, and I think it's very reflective of the good work the force is doing. So thank you very much.
Appreciate the comment. And what's interesting is Officer Royce and a sheriff's officer were awarded the Bronze Star from Sheriff Barry for saving a suicidal subject who was trying to set himself on fire at a local gas station. That did not come into consideration for this award. It is his daily work and some of the cases that he has worked both with us and alongside both the Charles County Sheriff's Office and the Prince George's County Police Department to close some pretty good cases.
Wow, thank you very much.
That is great. Any other council have any questions or comments for the chief?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Next up, Director Harrington.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. So for the Planning Department, in the month of June, this will work. For Development Review, we had a Design Review Board submission for Dairy Queen at 60 Shining Willow Way. We had an annexation request submission for 10411 La Plata Road, a major site plan submission for 5695 Washington Avenue, which was went to the Planning Commission last month as well. A zoning map amendment for 14 West Hawthorne Drive, zoning map and text amendment for the University of Maryland Charles Regional Medical Center Hospital Campus Zone. We had a few resubmissions for forest conservation for Heritage Green and Rosewick Corner. And then we had stormwater management submissions for Rosewick Corner, 5695 Washington Avenue, and Heritage Green as well. For building permits, we had a total of 92 that were issued. New residential was 10. We had 3 miscellaneous residential, which included sheds and alterations. We had 4 residential solar panels submitted for that, 12 residential occupancy permits, 2 miscellaneous commercial permits, which is again an interior alteration or a minor change to a commercial building, 6 commercial occupancy permits for tenant fit outs, 12 utility permits, 12 plumbing permits, 12 major facility fees, 18 farmers market permits, and 1 permanent sign. Code enforcement, we had 12 citations that were issued in the month. You'll see that we'll start picking back up on citations under code enforcement since we're coming out of the pandemic and we're getting back into the normal swing of things. For rental licenses, we received 17 applications in the month. So that brings our total to 126 for the year. As noted at the previous council work session and special meeting, the temporary sign moratorium expired on July 23rd. So we are going to be getting back into temporary sign permits, but we are offering a grace period, as you may say, to work with applicants to bring them up to speed on where we're at, how to apply for a temporary sign permit. Temporary outdoor seating is set to expire on December 31st of this year. And we have had a few applicants reach out to us to put in permanent outdoor seating. And as I always do, I'd like to reiterate that flag signs are a distracting device and are not considered under our signage and are not permitted in the town. For future meetings, we have a planning commission meeting that was moved one day. It was supposed to be August 3rd, but since we have National Night Out, we moved it to August 4th. We do have a final plat and a preliminary plat on the agenda. And Design Review Board will be set for August 11th, still virtual at this point for an architectural review. For matters of information, we just tidied up our memorandum of understanding with the Soil Conservation District for our stormwater management reviews. I have to say that Tim Wells with SCD has done a fantastic job to date, and we are looking forward to continuing to work with them in the future. We also have a new contractor for utility reviews with Macron. And so I've started working with them on plan submissions and utility reviews for water and sewer. They're doing a great job as well. Energov, I have still waiting on the reports and placard updates that we had in several months ago. So I sent a follow-up email to try and see where we're at to get this moving again. We're also still working on our permit and development preparation manual. With all the changes that we've had with outside reviews, I think there's a lot of things that need to be updated before we push that out. Finishing up our FAQs and guides. It seems like every day another FAQ pops up that we should probably add to the list. So we're still working through those. Still working through our code revisions for several of the chapters in the town's ordinance. 2 of those are actually before the council tonight for adoption, which is great. And then we're still proceeding forward with our pedestrian upgrades and that project for the bikeway and side path from Rosebrook Road all the way down into town. As far as additional updates, I just got notification through the Department of Natural Resources that the state has updated their regulations on forest mitigation banks and how those can be handled. So the first step for the town coming into compliance with these new regulations is to adopt our resource protection standards, which is coming before you tonight later on. And then from there, we'll need to figure out how to set up forest mitigation banks that can be used to plant trees, put easements on forest to accommodate those. Otherwise, we will have to turn that authority over to the state. Working on some website updates. I've already kind of started working on our forms and applications page just to kind of break things out and make things a little easier to find. And then, of course, with our building code, if that gets adopted tonight, we'll have to update our entire building permit page and make sure that everything's cohesive with the new code. ADA parking, we're working with our operations department to ensure that all of the town signage is up to code on our parking signs. So we have the signs ordered, and those will be installed as soon as possible, just to make sure that we have everything we need. And from there, we're going to start working with businesses throughout the town to ensure that their ADA parking is compliant. And if not, they'll need to bring that up to code. And that's all I have for tonight. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Well, first of all, I have to say fantastic report. And for those of you watching that sometimes you don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors at Town Hall, Director Harrington has been the glue to hold us together on many events or many situations going on, especially with Heritage Green and with the Business Association, getting the word out about the moratorium that is going to be ending soon. So thank you so much. I don't think that you get recognized enough for all of your hard work, and your department is really doing a great job. So thank you for that. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Just thank you again, Jeanine. You do an amazing job. Of course, we say that to you. It's not, the page is not numbered, but under building permits, it says issue. The printout I have says April. Should that be June, or is it actually April?
It's June.
Okay. And then on code enforcement, 17 rental license received for the applications for the month of April or June?
It's June.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you again, Director Harrington. Great report. And again, I echo the mayor's previous comments about all the hard work that you have to get through. So thank you again. My only question, well, actually a comment and a question. The first comment is, again, I appreciate that you and the staff meeting with Heritage Green. Apparently you meet with them on a weekly basis. So I thought obviously that's very, very important that we keep tabs and we keep working with them so we synchronize everything to the benefit of the town. So thank you for that. And then my question is, I guess, related to building permits. So as of today, what is the cumulative school allocation seats so far?
And actually, the town manager and I were just discussing this today. And when you look at the calendar year to date, we're looking at about 32 or 33 school seats that we have allocated.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. Any other comments or questions for Director Harrington? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Stahl.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. And as you've seen, we've got a new format for our Operations Department updates. And I plan tonight on going through all 24 pages for you and making sure that we mention every last project. In reality, though, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to just summarize just a few key issues with that, because in your leisure, I'm sure you'll want to go through all 24 pages of the ops report. With respect to sewer, and I'll start with sewer, the wastewater treatment plant is actually operating extremely well right now. Of course, warmer weather always benefits bacterial growth, and so therefore things are functioning extremely well. The last report that we got from the lab actually showed all but, I believe, nitrate at non-detectable levels, and so we've been very pleased with the results we're getting. And the flows are at a very, very normal level of around 1 million gallons per day. So that's been very positive, and we are consistently meeting our discharge limits. The one thing that we have gotten this month that is really somewhat tragic for us. Roger Carr, our plant manager, his son was tragically killed in an oil field accident down in Louisiana. And Roger's family has a large farm out in Missouri. His father died about 2 years ago, and his son was running the farm operations out there and working. They have an 8-week on, 8-week off time in the oil fields. And so Roger has decided, because of the situation, to leave the plant at the end of September and retire. That leaves us with a big hole to fill, and it's going to clearly be a challenge for us in the future. I do have some plans to make some changes. It's very difficult to replace long-term licensed employees like that, and it's just not going to happen in the short term. But it is clearly a challenge for us as we move into the future. One of the things that I've been busy on, we're trying to get the Southwest Quadrant pump station bid out, and we hope to bring that before you at a work session in August, and so that we can show you where we are with that and what we're doing. But that is clearly a hot button issue for us. Donnie and I were over there today marking out the site so that we could get the geotechnical boring going over there. And we hope to have that bid out and contract awarded before the end of the year, if possible. In the water, other than the repairs that you've seen in the listing, I think the huge issue is still the water meters. Water meters are failing at an alarmingly escalating rate. Currently, there are 1,454 meters malfunctioning in the town's inventory, and the numbers are approximately half of what we have in town. We have about 3,600 meters in town. And when you have 1,400 before I come back to you next month, I'm certain that the number will be half. And it is something that we have been trying to work with Mueller. Clearly, I think my first intention has always been to avoid legal action back against them, because as soon as we initiate legal action, of course, that shuts them down. And from an operational standpoint, I need them to work with us to try and get these problems fixed. We have been waiting on the new meter units that we need with the batteries to be able to restore the meters. And we've been waiting on them now for 6 months. They were supposedly to be delivered to us 2 Fridays ago. That did not happen. And theoretically, we can't track it because they had the tracking mechanisms. We were supposed to have a meeting with them on Monday. Keystone Utilities, who is the company that's hired by Mueller to come in and do all the installations, was in the meeting. But of the 3 people from Mueller, none of them showed up for the Teams meeting. I'm certainly not coming before you today to recommend that we initiate legal action, but I just have to tell you that that may become the only remedy to deal with this at this point. It is clearly a major problem for us, and we may be forced into that at this point. One of the other things, the repairs that we were doing at Tillman Lake were completed. We had to replace a motor over there, and one of the booster pumps is just waiting for a motor alignment, which will happen on August 3rd. But all of those repairs have been made. We do have a water line repair tomorrow up on Prospect Street. And so we have notified those residents about repairs up there. Roads, we're in the process of working on some more patching. We have contracted to have 14 more patches done in the town. And so that will be done over the next several weeks. And those are where we've made water line repairs or sewer repairs. One that may come to mind, we're actually going to have to repair the area up on Morris Drive where we made the stormwater management repair up there. So there are 14 different locations where we have to repair, and those will be done very quickly. With respect to solid waste, the new containers that we got in at the end of June have been going out steadily to our customers, and we're steadily getting those out and getting those delivered. We hope to continue to have an inventory, but as you know, that inventory goes fast with the kind of growth that we're seeing in town. And so we are, as you know, tonight on the agenda is to be able to order some more trash cans. With parks, we're clearly doing ongoing mowing and maintenance with our parks. Stormwater, we completed some repairs up on Morris Drive that Mr. Renfolo has brought to our attention several times, and those have been completed, and we're just waiting now to patch the asphalt across the street. Bryce Austin Dirt Works is starting tomorrow, a week late on the repairs down at Centennial Street. They will do the ones at the bottom of the hill first, and then they will move up to the top of the hill once the ones at the bottom of the hill are complete. And so we hope that before our next business meeting to have completed both the repairs and open up the intersection at 301 and Centennial, and also to have all the repairs made at Centennial and St. Mary's Avenue. With facilities, as you can tell from the report, there have been many projects that have been ongoing and that are there. We have 2 rental properties that are currently, we're looking for tenants on those, and we're working on those. But the big thing is that we're working with the county on the library design at this point, and we're actually working with their design team. They're actually coming in to Indian Head Ironworks tomorrow to do some site surveying on the site, and we continue to work through. That's this summary for this month, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Director Stahl. Again, I'm echoing, but thank you so much. You guys have been working so hard, and I know you have quite a few challenges, but I know I sent an email to you, but it deserves to be said again. Thank you to Austin, Mitchell, Matthew, and Eddie for coming over to Town Hall and cleaning up an area without fussing or anything. They were such a joy to be around. I think one of them has their eye on Danielle's recliner there. So if that goes missing, I know exactly where to find it. But thank you so much. You guys have so many projects out there. And whoever did your little presentation today, your 24 pages, okay, bravo. That was kind of fun. And I love the emoji. I mean, that kind of made me smile a little bit. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And again, you guys are doing a fabulous job. Councilman Trollinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Stahl. I do want to echo your team. This presentation is very concise, but it is thorough. It doesn't make you have to recount everything that your modern teams have been working on. We can read it for ourselves. So I really appreciate that. I did want to ask you about the continued problems with Mueller. I know when this majority council, the mayor, when we first came on, kind of alerted to the issues with the meters, and I think I can echo everybody's disappointment that they're not giving you what our town needs. I'm curious as to other municipalities that have similar struggles, because if I can recall when we first started discussing these, you stated to us that essentially it's a nationwide problem with them as a distributor, but what's everybody doing about it? Do we know of any other towns or municipalities that use these folks and have had movement towards getting this solved?
Bobby, were you able to understand that? Because Matt, you were really, really choppy.
Yeah, I believe I understand the concern, and I share the concern. We have spoken to other municipalities, other counties. It's clearly a challenge. One of the things that I have found, Councilman Trollinger, I hate to say this, but we were the first. And so the town of La Plata was actually the first larger government entity that decided to go with the AMI system with Mueller, with the automatic shutoffs. We did this. The issue, the problem with the automatic shutoffs is really somewhat minor compared to the problem, and the true problem is the battery life in these meters was originally supposed to be a 20-year battery life, and to be honest, it's been about 8 years, and they're all going dead virtually at the same time. We clearly expected a 20-year battery life, and so one of the challenges has been that because we were the first to do this, honestly, we're experiencing the problems now. And what's happening, as you can see, the failure rates have been going up at a dramatic rate as time passes on. Where I was worried about this last year, when the contractual percentage of communication was 98%, I was worried when it went to 95. Now we're getting closer to 50, and it's just been incredible. We met with Mueller 2 weeks ago, and the number was close to 1,200. And when we met on Monday without Mueller, the number was 1,454. So in a period of 2 weeks, the number went up by 250. And so I say to you, I did not want to get into a legal issue with them because clearly they would shut down on us and we needed them to work through the problem and try to shift, try to get us but at this point, we're not even working because we haven't been able to get any inventory at this point. And I feel, just like the rest of the construction industry and everything that I'm having at this point with getting materials, getting anything, getting these meters has been a huge problem that I've just talked to you about every single month since you've been elected to the council. And we still don't have the meters that we need. They were indicated to have been to us 2 weeks ago. They gave us a shipper, but when we call the shipper, they don't know where they are. And so Mueller has to be the one with the tracking number and to be able to show us where they are. And it's been a problem. I hate to say this, I'm extremely frustrated, trying my best to work through this challenge because the only thing we can do, even if I said to you, we want to start over and we want to go to one of the other manufacturers, that would be 6 months to a year trying to even shift something over. And so we really need to look at those other things as a longer term solution, but the short term solution has to be, we have to get this system up and running and we have to do what it takes to get there. And I'm not sure that I haven't been able to provide you with very good news in this front, and I'm trying my best. But here again, we had a meeting. We're supposed to be doing weekly meetings and going to these weekly meetings, but this week's meeting, Mueller, none of the players from Mueller even showed at the meeting. So it was clearly frustrating from my standpoint. I hope I've answered your question. It was a long.
Yeah. Well, I know you were trying to put pieces together of my choppy audio, so I apologize. So thank you for that. Hopefully you can hear me now. But I understand you had an idea that they would last 20 years. Are these under warranty of some kind?
There is a full warranty for 10 years and then a prorated warranty over the next 10. So they would be prorated down over the next. It was a full warranty, and they haven't balked at the fact that they need to provide us with the new nodes, which includes the battery. We have 500 of the three wire nodes, but ours, we need to get 5 wire nodes for the other half of ours. Some of them, the 3 wire nodes work with the older meters that we have. The 5 wire work with the automatic disconnect meters. And so those meters require a 5 wire. Well, they sent us all 3 wire. We need 5 wire. And so we've been waiting. Keystone has been ready to go. We have letters that are ready to be mailed out to our residents. Everything's ready. And we're just waiting on literally the physical nodes, which include the battery. Now, Mueller's never balked at that. They haven't said they're going to charge us for these nodes, which does replace the battery. But it does beg. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, it just doesn't do us any good if they're saying they're going to fix it, and 6 months later, as we have more and more and more fail, and it looks like the entire system is suspect, right? So is there anything within the agreement that we have that guarantees that they remedy the issues in a certain period of time at all, or that the warranty, because it seems like they've had an unlimited period of time to our detriment. And then the follow-up to that, is there any idea how much this is potentially costing the town, which is the big issue, right? I mean, that's the biggest problem.
I will say that the lack of revenue because of having to estimate billing and do manual billing, the cost for the town is a very massive number at this point. The amount of time and effort that we have put into this, I certainly can go back and pull the contract. I don't know the original contract. I have a copy in my file, which is up on the third floor. The original contract, which was in the treasurer's office, I don't think we've been able to locate, but the challenges with this are going to have to be reviewed by our council and, determine a path forward in that situation, I think is the best effort.
I agree, and it frustrates me, just like I'm sure everybody on your staff and your team and the rest of the council, that you are completely handcuffed, right, with not being able to do your job and waiting for response. But my concern is with council getting involved, we want to give them everything possible to put a concise report out saying, these are our current damages, right? These are the man hours that we've had to spend waiting on missed meetings, right? Mm-hmm. On people that aren't showing up and on estimating billing. And is there any way that we can get started coming up with some numbers to bring them to the table? Because, I mean, the more we go on, it sounds like the more we need to move on from this company, because us not doing anything hasn't really helped you,
Yeah. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. To be honest, deciding to shift over is a multi-million-dollar project. This was originally, when we implemented this new MyNet system, it was over $1 million project when we put it in. And we actually got a state grant that helped us fund half of that money. So the town spent about $600,000 of its own money, and we took a grant of about $500,000 to implement this. Mueller actually bought this system from us. They were by far the cheapest. Their nearest competitor was over $1.5 million to install our system. And I'm sure that today, if we went back out to bid a new implementation of meters, it would be in excess of $2 million in my mind to be able to install all new meters in this. And it's a major undertaking because you have to get in and physically switch out all the meters in every home in La Plata, plus every commercial business. And it's a huge challenge to also then implement all of the computer infrastructure and the reading units that are installed throughout town. It's a huge undertaking, and I've tried to reasonably avoid that for understandable reasons. But I come to you with my hat in my hand and just saying, I may have made a mistake in drawing this out this long to try and get it, because I don't feel as though, we had people, when we were originally experiencing these problems, Mueller, the MyNet, which is their Mueller-owned subsidiary, which is the meter infrastructure company, was based in Massachusetts. We had a group in Massachusetts that worked desperately with us, and Ed Perry was the manager up there, and he did everything in his power to keep us functioning. He would get meters shipped to us. He would do everything in his power. Mueller decided as a corporate venture to suddenly move the headquarters from Massachusetts to Atlanta, Georgia. And when they did that, they lost all of their key people. And so every single person that we were dealing with for years suddenly left the company. And so we're dealing with what, to me, are a bunch of young people. I mean, we're dealing with a bunch of 20-something computer people. And to be honest, Kristen started with me down there at Public Works in last November, and she would tell you that all of the people that we were dealing with when she started with us are now no longer with Mueller. So in the last year, we've had all of those people turn over, and that's been kind of the challenge that we have. None of them can, step in and say, listen, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So, it's been extremely frustrating, and I apologize. Maybe we should have entered into a legal remedy earlier. I had hoped not to do that.
Yeah, Mr. Stahl, I don't want you to think that I'm blaming you for any of what they have done or that your timing is off or anything like that. I think your collaborative, cooperative approach is appropriate. I'm concerned about the opportunity cost missed by the town in revenue at some point here will be greater than the cost, I would guess, at some point. And we need to know what the numbers are so that we can say, well, gosh, they've already cost us this much money, right? Mm-hmm. At some point, it's gonna overlap or outweigh what it would cost to switch. And if we can't reasonably take any confidence in what we already have, well, what does our future outlook look like? And I don't want to ever be in a position where we're looking at our residents saying that we knew of this problem and we want to give you the resources available to do what's right by the town. So that's all. And I don't want to, I'm taking too much time. I apologize, but I just want to get some numbers together for if council's going to get involved, we gotta beef it up a little bit and show them how much pain it's causing us. Right.
And I didn't actually, when I said council, I actually didn't mean the La Plata Town Council, because my job is to just bring you decision items in that situation. I actually meant legal counsel. And
well, so do I. I understand.
We would be, involving legal counsel in this standpoint. And I think, we're going to probably be sitting down in the next couple of weeks with them to try and move forward with a plan, I think, to decide, what we need to provide to, with those opportunity costs. I can certainly, we've tracked that. It's important for us to show all of the work orders. I mean, we have all of that in our files to be able to provide that. And we just have to start putting some dollar figures on it to be able to do that. So.
All right. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Thank you, Director Stahl, for all of your efforts, and I understand how painstaking this is for you. I just have two quick questions. You said that the cost is massive. Have we ever had a quantifiable number associated with the losses we're dealing with Mueller?
I would say the answer today is no. We haven't put an overall figure on that, and we probably will have to do that at some point. Okay. It is in many different forms. I mean, one is just the sheer number of man hours that we have to do to go out and to read the meters. It is the sheer number of man hours where we're going out making repairs to the system in people's houses. It is the cost of the lost water. And it's not ever lost. It's just, going out and having to estimate a read instead of having the actual amount being able, because in cases where the battery's gone dead, we would actually have to go into someone's house. The meters are good meters. The meter head still reads. So the numbers on the meter are actually still going forward. And so we don't lose the reads. We actually have a meter that actually still has a physical reader head on it that still reads it's just we can't read anything electronically. Okay. And the only way to read it is to go into the house.
Okay. And the other question is there any indication that Mueller is getting ready to go defunct? Are they sustainable? You talked about the changes.
Mueller is actually the largest water equipment company, manufacturing company in the country, and if I'm not mistaken, is the oldest. Mueller was actually started in the early 1800s.
Okay.
They own numerous subsidiaries. Minet is actually just one company that's owned by Mueller. They're a very large. Minet is a subsidiary of Mueller.
Okay.
Mueller manufactures pipe. They manufacture probably one of their most well-known is Mueller fire hydrants. They make probably one of the best fire hydrants in the country. The actual meters that we have are actually Hersey meters, and the Hersey meter is a subsidiary that's owned by Mueller. So
Okay, so they just do bad business.
well, I think part of the problem is they're involved in something here. They got into a technology-based company and they put the Mueller name on it, which is, as a person in the water industry, it's a very good name. And they've never put enough resources behind it to develop the technology further as they've grown. And here again, things like battery life, they were most likely promised that these batteries, based on amperage that they put out, would last 20 years. Because of some of the signal issues that they have with communicating with the repeaters these meters communicate and communicate and communicate and communicate. And so what's happening is, because of some of the communication issues, it wore the batteries down, and it wore the batteries down with a much lower life than what happened. And so, I can sit back here and look at all of these problems now. Did we see this when we did the original install? No, honestly, we did not. There were quite a few of us that went around and looked at other communities and what had happened with other communities. And I think we all felt this was a solid investment for the town.
Yeah, so we're not so much questioning the equipment, but questioning their response and their, lack of, response to you and trying to get these issues resolved. I'm not questioning, the equipment. I'm questioning their response to getting a resolution to our problem.
I agree.
So that's where I was going with that. But thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you. And again, I echo all the previous comments about the frustration level. I just had one question. I believe it's under stormwater management or stormwater. There's a reference to impervious. I think it's page 18. I'm not sure. The impervious surface remediation. And there's a bullet receiving funding approval from MDE for FY22 capital budget up to 213,000. So is that
Yes.
Is that a one-time funding to help us remediate existing stormwater management facilities?
There is. We have selected 4 projects for upgrade, Dave,
Okay.
as far as that's concerned. And we applied for a grant, and they gave it to us partially as a loan, but the 213,000 is an actual grant. And we will use that money towards the upgrades for our impervious surface calculation. As you may remember, we have to do a 20% of our current impervious surface has to be upgraded over the 5 years. We were able to work with Soltez to do a study that showed we could do 4 of our regional ponds, Redwood Lake being one of them, and upgrade those to the current ESD standards, and that we could then show that we had more than 20% of our impervious cover upgraded to the new modern 2007 stormwater standards by just upgrading those 4 ponds. And we filed a grant to get that. We did get most of it in grant, but some of it is in loan. And then we were looking to do anything additional because, of course, since we applied for the grant, cost of a lot of this material has gone just right through the roof. We're looking at other things like possibly some of the monies that we're getting under the COVID or, other capital monies. So we will be coming back to you with that as we start finalizing some of these projects.
So these projects, Quailwood Parkway, Redwood Lake, and Agricopia, these are actual physical existing, for want of a better word, stormwater management ponds that will be upgraded.
That's correct.
Okay, so that, I guess I was just misunderstanding what they mean by
Well,
individual impervious surface remediation. I guess I assume that would be some kind of a reduction of the actual physical surfaces or road
Well, what
surfaces or
happens
parking
is
areas.
we have to demonstrate to the state that we know we've done all those studies and shown that we have about 700 and I forget, I think it's 700 and off the top of my head, 715 acres of impervious surface in La Plata. And we have to upgrade 20% of that by 2025. And so, we could, because of the drainage basins, when you go and analyze which drainage basins those stormwater management facilities drain into, we took into account how much impervious surface. So we have to upgrade, I believe off the top of my head, it's 122 acres worth of impervious cover. And what we did was we took the low hanging fruit first. So we went in and said, okay, we could upgrade these 4 facilities and take into account the impervious surface that drains into them. And by adding 4 bays and some of the other newer technology in ESD to those existing facilities, we can then bring them up to the modern standard and therefore meet the standard of 20%. And our goal is to have it completed by 2023, even though we don't have to have it completed until 2025.
So this current $213,000, it's just for the current fiscal year. So there'll have to be some additional funding for the out fiscal years, right? 2023 and 24.
We have to do additional work. Our goal is to try and meet the budget to do those upgrades.
Okay.
But I will say that with construction costs having escalated the way it has over the last year, I don't think we anticipated that in our number. So we may need some additional capital funding to meet that requirement. And we would come back to you to do that under our stormwater management challenges.
Thank you. And again, I like the format and I like the content. Thanks a lot for that effort. And then as council members previously said, I certainly don't question your tenacity to try to get Mueller to work with us. So I'm sure you'll reach out if you need additional help. Thank you.
We will. Take care.
Thank you, Director Stahl. Great report, and thank you for not going through all 24 pages.
Thank you. Glad not to do it.
You'll get us next time. All right, that brings us over to our award-winning treasurer, Kevin Greenville.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kevin Greenville, Treasurer for the Town of La Plata. Tonight, I present to you the Treasurer's Report for the month of June 2021. June marks the final month of our fiscal year. The report presented to you tonight is not final as the town continues to close out the most recent fiscal year. As of June 30th, the town's general fund expenditures exceeded its revenue by approximately $440,000. However, this amount does not include any appropriation of fund balance. Within the enterprise funds, the sewer fund has expenditures that exceed revenues. This is due to capital projects budgeted in FY20 that carried over into FY21. Utility bills for the service period ending June 30th, 2021 were mailed out in early July. Utility bills are due on August 10th, and as we discussed at a work session in June, service terminations and late charges will commence as normal for this billing cycle. Tonight, for your consideration and adoption, are resolutions authorizing the town to surplus vehicles and equipment, enter into a contract for a class compensation and benefits study, enter into a contract for an organizational study, and enter into a contract for water smart utility support services. The final Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act report for the period ending June 30th, 2021 was submitted to the county for reimbursement. The final reporting period was eligible for $32,072.54 in reimbursable expenditures. The total amount reimbursed to the town for the period of March 2020 through June 2021 equaled $400,131.69. Finance staff attended the Government Finance Officers Association Annual Summer Conference from July 12th through July 23rd. This conference was held virtually. Finance staff, we also met with the town's financial auditors, Cohn Resnick, to kick off the FY21 financial audit. The audit is anticipated to be completed in November, and a presentation will be given to Mayor and Council in January of 2022. And this concludes my treasurer's report for the month of June, and I'd be happy to answer any questions Mayor and Council may have.
Thank you, Kevin, for the very thorough report. Again, our departments are all fantastic, and your department needs to be recognized as well. All of the things that you have been doing behind the scenes, you know, we think of just pushing out bills or paying bills. The research that you've done so that we can get a good a good comprehensive study done on all of our benefits, and with the new water meter and with the organizational chart. I mean, that's just a few things that you have done that usually we don't recognize as being part of the finance department. So thank you very much. You and your team are doing a fabulous job. And I will open it up to council if anybody has any comments or questions for Kevin. Go ahead, Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Greenville, thank you very much for all the great work you do behind the scenes. I certainly echo the mayor's comment about all the things in the background. So I appreciate this. Just a question for my edification, I guess, is so how do we reconcile a budget deficit? If our expenses are more than our revenues for one or two of our revenue funds, and then, I mean, our enterprise funds, and then our overall budget. So how do we reconcile that?
Yeah, Councilman Jenkins, that's a great question. So the deficit in our general fund, we had budgeted appropriation of our fund balance. So that will cover the current deficit. We expected that and we anticipated that. So no budget adjustment is necessary for overall for the general fund. In September, I will bring forward to council an ordinance that is a final budget amendment for FY21, and that looks at it. Our budgetary level of control is at the departmental level. So any department that may be over, and it happens every year, there's always unexpected things within each department. We rectify that through the budget amendment, the final year budget amendment. But overall, this deficit was expected, and we did have enough fund balance appropriated to cover this, and it was anticipated. Within the enterprise funds, we do not do budget amendments. We don't do a final budget amendment. It's a little bit different than the general fund. This money for it was really the EQ tank. We budgeted that in FY20, and it just we really didn't get started until FY21. So that would be those expenditures within the sewer fund.
Okay, thank you. And then just a follow-up question, and this is probably a crystal ball question, but so how long can the town sustain, assuming that we have deficits in the future, and hope we don't, but if we were or do, how long can we sustain fund balances to pay for those overages, or can we?
Councilman Jenkins, we typically use our fund balance when we're doing the budget only on capital expenditures and non-recurring costs.
Okay.
So yeah, and you know, a lot of this deficit or just overage of expenditures over revenues is related primarily to capital projects and to some land purchases that we did this year.
And so just to reiterate, you said that the departments are basically in control of budget, but obviously you and your staff, track that and follow it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We
Okay.
send out monthly budget reports, and yeah, just budgetary level of control. It's at the department level. We don't go into the sub accounts and reconcile those. It's at the department level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman Trollinger.
Real quick, Kevin, would you be able to help Mr. Stahl in coming up with some numbers? I don't know if that falls within your scope or not. I certainly don't want to put more on your plate, but I think it's important to get some numbers together, like sooner rather than later.
Councilman Trollinger, are you talking about the cost
Yeah.
of sort of Mueller
Lots.
deficiency?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Director Stahl and we can work together and come up with some numbers
Okay.
on that. Sure.
I know, not related to your report. I just want to tap you if I could. You're very
No,
sweet. Thanks.
absolutely. I understand.
And Kevin, a quick question follow-up. Where are we on this, I guess, allocating the money from the federal money that we received for on that?
So Mayor, you're talking about the American Rescue Plan Act money, the ARPA funds. We have still not received anything from the state. We submitted those before the deadline of June 30th, after Mayor and Council authorized us to move ahead with that. And unfortunately, we haven't received award verification or any direction on our amount. I did confirm with the contractors who are managing for that with the state that they have received everything they need from us. Staff, I think we met last week just as a preliminary kickoff to discuss ideas for the ARPA funding. So that's where we're at on it.
Do you know if any other municipalities have received theirs?
No, none of the non-reporting entities, which is what we are, and I think about 95% of the municipalities in Maryland. So none of those have received the money yet.
Okay, so that makes us that makes me feel better. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And you know what? You have earned a vacation, haven't you?
I guess so.
Enjoy yourself. Be safe. Thank you so much.
Mayor.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, moving on to our next item, which is legislation, Ordinance 21-16 for consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning resource protection for the purpose of comprehensively revising and recodifying Town of La Plata development regulations relating to floodplain management and flood hazard areas, forest conservation, storm drainage, stream resources, wetland resources, steep slopes, hydric soils, and highly erodible soils, and rare, threatened, and endangered species, and all matters generally relating thereto.
Thank you very much. Okay, do I have someone who would entertain a motion to adopt Ordinance 21-16?
This is Councilmember Jenkins. I would make a motion to approve Ordinance 21-16 resource protection.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
I believe Director Harrington said previously during the work session that this has all been reviewed and signed off on by legal counsel.
Yes, it has been.
Right, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion. It's been properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next ordinance consideration for adoption is Ordinance 21-17.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning town personnel system for the purpose of amending certain personnel rules and regulations, adding rules and regulations related to the use of social media in the town's personnel policy manual, adding an appendix to the town's personnel policy manual, and all matters generally relating thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept Ordinance 21-17?
I move we accept ordinance 21-17, personnel policy manual, social media policy.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? This is what we went over a few weeks ago. All right, so I have a motion that has been properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-18 for consideration of adoption.
So, Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning International Building Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Building Code 2018 with certain modifications and additions as the building code for the Town of La Plata with certain exceptions, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, adopting as a supplement to that code certain regulations established by Charles County for the construction of certain structures and improvements, providing that the provisions of this ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-18?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance 21-18 International Building Code 2018.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and I am aye as well. Motion carries. All right, brings us to ordinance 21-19 for consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings, 2018, for the purpose of adopting the International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwelling, 2018, with certain modifications as the code for the design and construction of certain 1 and 2 family dwellings and townhouses in the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing that the provisions of the ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-19?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept ordinance number 21-19 International Residential Code for 1 and 2 family dwellings 2018.
Fantastic. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor,
Okay.
All
sorry,
right,
Matt.
any, I love it. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, no one opposed, motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-20 for consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning National Electrical Code for the purpose of repealing the National Electrical Code 2011 with certain modifications as the code for the regulations and control of the design, construction, quality of materials, erection, installation, alteration, repair, location, relocation, replacement, addition to, use of maintenance of electrical systems in the Town of La Plata, and adopting the 2017 National Electrical Code, providing that the provisions of the ordinance are severable and all matters generally relating thereto.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-20?
I move we accept ordinance 21-20 National Electrical Code.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-21.
Yes, Madam Mayor, for your consideration and adoption, an ordinance concerning International Mechanical Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Mechanical Code 2018 with certain modifications as the mechanical code for the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing that the provisions of this ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-21?
Madam Mayor, I move adoption of ordinance 21-21, Chapter 75, International Energy Code, Conservation Code.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So moment of, or
Oh.
point of clarity, I think it should be the International Mechanical Code.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
20,
You're
that's
correct.
20.
Right. Yes, it is.
All right.
Thank you.
So I have a motion that has been properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. That'll bring us to ordinance 21-22.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, for your consideration of adoption, an ordinance concerning International Energy Conservation Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Energy Conservation Code 2018 with certain modifications as the Energy Conservation Code for the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing the provisions of the ordinance are severable, and all matters generally related thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept this ordinance?
I move we accept ordinance 21-22 Energy Conservation Code.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, getting a little gun shy now, aren't we? All in favor, oh, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Motion carries. That'll bring us to ordinance 21-23, International Fuel Gas Code 2018.
Yes, Madam Mayor, for your consideration of adoption, an ordinance concerning International Fuel Gas Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Fuel Gas Code 2018 with certain modifications as the code for the regulation and control of the design and installation of fuel gas systems and gas-fired appliances in the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing that the provisions of the ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-23 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept ordinance number 21-23 International Fuel Gas Code 2018.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-24 for consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning International Existing Building Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Existing Building Code 2018 with certain modifications as the code for the repair, alteration, change of occupancy, addition, and relocation of existing buildings in the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violation, providing for the provisions of this ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-24 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept ordinance number 21-24 International Existing Building Code 2018 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-25 for adoption of, for consideration of adoption.
This, Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning International Plumbing Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Plumbing Code 2018 with certain modifications as the plumbing code for the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing that the provisions of the ordinance are severable and all matters generally related thereto.
Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-25 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 21-25, International Plumbing Code 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Brings us to ordinance 21-26 for consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, an ordinance concerning International Property Maintenance Code 2018 for the purpose of adopting the International Property Maintenance Code 2018 with certain modifications as the Property Maintenance Code for the Town of La Plata, providing for the administration and enforcement of that code, specifying penalties for violations, providing the provisions of this ordinance are severable, and all matters generally related thereto.
Do I have a motion to accept ordinance 21-26 as presented?
I move we accept ordinance 21-26 International Property Maintenance Code 2018.
Do I have a second?
A
Second.
second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to resolution 21-14 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, resolution concerning surplus vehicles and equipment for the purpose of determining that certain vehicles and equipment owned by the town are no longer needed for public use, authorizing the town manager to dispose of such surplus vehicles and equipment and all matters generally related to the disposition of such surplus vehicles and equipment.
Do I have a motion to accept resolution 21-14 as presented?
Mayor James, I'll make a motion to adopt or accept resolution 21-14.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Brings us to resolution 21-16 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, a resolution concerning trash and recycling container purchase for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract purchase agreement for the purchase of 438 trash and recycling carts of varying sizes.
Do I have a motion to accept resolution 21 or to adopt resolution 21-16?
I move we adopt resolution 21-16, trash and receptacles.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to resolution 21-18 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Madam Mayor, Town Council, a resolution concerning stormwater pipe procurement for repairs to Centennial Street stormwater for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to negotiate and enter into a contract for the pipe for repair of failing stormwater infrastructure.
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 21-18 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 21-18 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Brings us to resolution 21-19 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Town Council, a resolution concerning Dude Solutions Asset Essentials Work Order Management Program for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract agreement for the Asset Essentials Work Order Management Program with Dude Solutions and all matters related thereto.
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 21-19 as presented?
Mayor James, I'll make a motion to adopt or accept resolution 21-19, Dude Solutions Asset Essential Work Order Management Program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. This brings us down to resolution 21-20 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, a resolution concerning class compensation and benefits study for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract agreement for a class compensation and benefits study and all matters related thereto.
Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 21-20 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 21-20 21-20 class compensation and benefits study as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question, and I apologize because I know this was discussed in great detail at last meeting, but Councilman Jenkins, I think, inquired of Mr. Greenville that this would be completed sometime in December. Is that correct? And I know on the invoice, the period of performance goes to December 31st.
I'm sorry, are we talking about the class and comp study right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
That is anticipated to take, Councilman Trollinger, that is anticipated to take 90 days. So if we start it now, I think it'll be done well before December 31st. The organizational study, that's the one that Councilman Jenkins was inquiring about, and that's anticipated to take all the way to the end of December because it's just a little bit more into it and a little bit more still figuring out things as we move along through it.
Okay, completely understand. I didn't set up well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we have a motion that has been properly seconded. All in favor of adopting resolution 21-20 as presented, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to resolution 21-21 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, a resolution concerning organizational design consulting services for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract agreement for organizational design consulting services and all matters related thereto.
Do I have a motion to accept and to adopt resolution 21-21 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 21-21 organizational design consulting services as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Madam Mayor, just a quick, I guess, comment or question on the last page. It says the amount is not to exceed 30,785, and I believe in the actual proposal it says 30,875. So I don't know whether that's just a transpo or a typo. Is that so? There's just a difference between the ordinance and or the actual proposal number.
Councilman Jenkins, just allow me a moment to look that up. Hold on
Sure,
1 second,
sure,
please.
sure.
Yeah, you are correct. The proposal is for 3875. So that number may have been transposed.
Right. Yeah. I do that a lot myself.
So, Danielle, do we need to amend our motion because we've said it accepted as is?
Yes.
Yes.
So this motion
Needs to fail.
can fail.
Okay.
So you haven't taken the vote on the motion because you had discussion.
Okay,
So you can let this motion fail and then move to adopt the resolution with the amended amount.
all right. So I have a motion to accept resolution 21-21 as presented, and it has been properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed, please indicate by saying nay.
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 Nay. Okay, motion fails. So do I have a motion to accept the amended resolution 21-21?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 21-21 organizational design consulting service with the amended price not to exceed 30,875.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the amended resolution 21-21, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good job, guys. Brings us to Resolution 21-22 for introduction and consideration of adoption.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Town Council, a resolution concerning smart water services for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract agreement with Smart Water for utility support services and all matters related thereto.
All right, do I have a motion to accept Resolution 21-22 as presented?
I make a motion to accept resolution 21-22 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, could I just make a comment on this, please?
Please do.
I want to make sure council is aware of this. So this agreement, Water Smart, is we're entering into a software as a service agreement with them. They have contracted with Mueller, and Mueller is actually reselling Water Smart services to us. That's why the quote you saw last week was from Mueller and wasn't from Water Smart. So our primary contact and our primary legal relationship will be with Mueller. And this agreement is for 60 months, for 5 years. So I just want to bring that to your attention with sort of, you know, your discussions tonight during Director Stahl's presentation. This is a 5-year agreement, and I think when Director Stahl and I were discussing this, you know, entering into another 5-year agreement with Mueller, you know, I think we probably had this discussion well over a month ago. The thought was, as Director Stahl said earlier, it would be almost millions of dollars to replace the Mueller system. So we don't foresee us doing that over the next 5 years. However, things seem to be getting progressively worse with Mueller. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention that this agreement will be for another 5 years, and it'll be with Mueller with a service agreement, a software agreement with Water Smart.
Mr. Granville, do we have the opportunity to amend the contract to make it just on a year-to-year basis, or are we stuck with a 5-year, 60-month contract?
As it's currently written, it's 60 months. And certainly we could go back to Mueller and to Water Smart and see if we could get that. I just think the price would change. That's why signing up with them for 5 years was the best price to the town.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Mr. Greenville, do you have any concerns? I mean, the presentation by Water Smart was really a good presentation, very convincing. Do we have any concerns that we'll have challenges with Water Smart? And
No,
I understand I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I think Water Smart's going to do a great job. I guess my concern is we're signing up with Water Smart only if we use, you know, Mueller and the MyNet system for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, could I speak to Councilman Bryant Ward's concern as well from my standpoint?
Sure.
Councilman Bryant Ward, one of the challenges, and I agree with Kevin wholeheartedly, he and I have worked together on getting this. The challenge is the data that they put forward in the system that is part of the customer portal, which we feel is so important to get out to our customers, is only as good as the data that it gets from the meter system.
Right.
So I want to say to, you know, I don't have any problem with Water Smart. What I have a problem with is making sure that the data that they get is actually accurate. So I'm not, I don't want to say that I don't have concerns with this. I do have concerns with this, and it's, you know, it is problematic. It is not with Water Smart, and I'm trying to restore one part of this system that gets it to our customers and gets them the data that they need. But right now, even if we had Water Smart fully implemented today, half of our customers wouldn't be able to get data that was accurate because half the meters aren't reading. And that's, you know, I have to say that I'm not concern free in this situation. So I clearly want to point that out.
So basically, it doesn't matter who we use to read the meters. It's going to be a problem regardless, because if the meters aren't functioning, whether it's Water Smart or Jack Spread or whomever, we're going to have the same issue.
That is absolutely correct. The bottom line here is what WaterSmart does is it uses the reading data that it gets from the meters to provide that in a customer portal so that customers can establish basis and see what water they're using. They can establish parameters for which they get emails. But if they're not getting the baseline data, which we're not getting either, WaterSmart is not going to solve that issue. And I would turn to Mr. Greenville and ask him, I think Kevin and I would concur on that.
Okay, so basically it doesn't matter. I mean, MyNet is not going to be functional, so we can't use them. We've got to use someone. So the option is that we either have someone to read the meters, and WaterSmart is the solution on the table today, or we don't have the portal for our clients to access to get the information. So
that is absolutely correct. You have done your homework and understand the issue entirely. And it's just, I mean, I can't disagree with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just like to add that, things seem to be getting progressively worse with Mueller. Them not even showing up to a meeting this week with Bobby. That was the first I heard of it. So, when we were having these discussions, things have gotten worse.
Okay. Ms. Manley, I see your hand nicely raised.
Yes, I did not capture a second. Was there a second on the motion?
There was, and I don't know who it was.
I do most seconds anyway.
I have Councilman Goldsmith as moving to adopt the resolution. Maybe I got click happy. I'm sorry.
Well, I know it wasn't me and I know it wasn't Matt. So there we go.
It might have been me. I'm not positive.
I think it was Evelyn who made the motion, was it not?
No, it was not.
It was not? Okay.
It's Councilman Goldsmith made the motion.
Okay, that's who I had, but I didn't capture the second. I wasn't sure because without a second, the motion would die. So I wasn't sure about a second.
Yeah, Councilman Jenkins made the second the motion.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say as
Yeah,
well.
you're right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I see Councilman Trollinger, your hand is raised.
Sure. What if this doesn't pass, right? So what's the downside of this not passing today? Because my concern is, why can we not use WaterSmart's relationship with Mueller to re-engage and get some kind of movement as to our current position? Can we do that? Is that a possibility? Given that they're a subsidiary and they probably have better connections, I would hope, than we are having right now.
Councilman Trollinger, the downside is the current MyNet customer portal is going to cease operations on or about August 31st. So we were trying to get this adopted tonight and move forward and have it up and running in September and get all that information out to our residents. I think the problem is, though, is if we move forward and do it and 50% aren't reporting, we're going to have a ton of customers calling in and saying they can't use the WaterSmart system anyways.
Is there a current provision in our, you don't know, you might not know this on the top of your head, or you may from your negotiations, but in our current contract or whatever, what happens when the period is over? Is it month to month? Is it 6 months?
Are you talking about WaterSmart, Councilman Trollinger?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything in here. It is basically 60 months is what it is. I don't see any verbiage about continuing month to month or anything. It's for
So-
5 years.
I'm sorry. So with MyNet, if it runs out August 31st, is there any provision with MyNet where it extends for a period of time or it's completely dead?
No, they're no longer supporting
ex-
it.
Okay.
It ends.
We are cutting it close, aren't we? I mean, it's
And,
not.
and to be honest, Councilman Trollinger, that was one of the things that has just irritated us with Mueller is they made a unilateral decision to end MyNet and just informed us that they will no longer have our customer portal, which was part of the original contract. And one of the clear selling points for the Mueller system. And they unilaterally just decided to end it and then said, oh, by the way, WaterSmart is our new vendor that's going to provide these services. And here you can hook up with WaterSmart. That's the way this went.
And Councilman Trollinger, we've received notification, I want to say at the end of February. So we've been working on a solution. We looked at other vendors outside of WaterSmart, and unfortunately WaterSmart really is the only vendor we could find that provides this comprehensive solution, and they seem to do a really good job. So that's why we put them forward.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
I'm sorry. So I guess in my logical mind, if we're not reading half of the meters, what is the true benefit to our customers if all of them can't have access? Is it not just, and especially not with the way Mueller has responded in doing business and shutting down MyNet, in a short period of time without giving us much time to find a feasible solution to replace them. And then we're not really replacing them if Mueller is not functioning. Is it not just a better idea to put out a public information and tell our residents that we will no longer offer this service for the foreseeable future? I mean, $50,000 is nothing to sneeze at, especially if we're losing money, and we haven't quantified that amount. I just really don't feel comfortable entering into an agreement for almost $50,000 without having a reasonable expectation that they will continue to function. As well as they shut down MyNet, they could very well shut down WaterSmart.
I think a lot of our residents and businesses rely on this service. We receive a lot of positive feedback for it, being able to monitor. I agree. This is a very challenging spot, especially, that we are entering into the contract, basically WaterSmart, but through Mueller.
Yeah. Kevin, can I ask a question? How many people, or Bobby might know this, but I think it's more of a you, Kevin. How many people are actually using the MyNet that's working? Because I'm a user of MyNet and mine does not work because my node isn't working. So how many people of the 3,600 utility bills we send out, how many are actually signed up and able to use it?
Mayor James, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I could definitely get those for mayor and council, though.
Okay. I think that would be something to consider because Councilwoman Bryant Ward made a very good point on that. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you. Well, my question is, Mr. Stahl, are there other communities that having the same issue with Mueller as well? And if so, I hate to say this, is there any kind of a misery and pain where we could work together to put more pressure on Mueller to respond and do what we paid them to do?
Councilman Jenkins, I think the answer is that MyNet as a whole is being shut down. It's not just, they're not just shutting this down for the town of La Plata.
Right.
They're shutting it down for all of their systems. And what has happened is they're having such a problem with their technical support across the board that maintaining MyNet became a huge challenge for them. And so they outsourced it to a company who's actually doing a much better job with the technology to be able to provide a customer service portal. And so they decided, and it clearly wasn't something that we were expecting. It was just a unilateral decision on their part to say, we're done. We're getting out of this business. We suggest you use WaterSmart. You can, you do it through us because of our partnership with WaterSmart, and here it is.
I mean, I understand that. I guess what I'm trying, I didn't ask it very well, is are there other communities that are getting terrible service as we're getting from Mueller? And can we band together to put pressure on Mueller to do their job that we're paying them to do, supposedly?
My assumption would be is that I'm assuming that these problems that we're having are kind of a nationwide problem, and that the problem that we're experiencing is worse than anybody else just because of the age of our system versus everybody else's. But my assumption is that if we work with our legal counsel in this to develop a format, that maybe there's an opportunity for a class action suit.
Well, that's what I'm driving at. Yes. Exactly. I mean, I hate to go that route, but it certainly seems like we're being forced down a path we don't want to do. But
there's no doubt about that. But just to go back to Councilwoman Bryant Ward's comment, we have always, ever since the day I started with La Plata, we have worked very, very hard to maintain a high level of customer service. And I hate to come forward and not bring something to you to say that we're moving forward with a customer service issue, because as we fix these meters, which to me ultimately has to be the solution, we have to get these meters fixed. We have to get it moving forward. We want to, and if I'm not mistaken, the number of people that are actively using MyNet is probably in the hundreds, by recollection. And so, right now, my assumption is half of the people who have MyNet are not able to access MyNet at this point, the mayor being one. So I think this is clearly a customer service patch at this point, but I do believe that from a customer service aspect, it's the right thing to do, because ultimately we have to fix this meter problem through Mueller at this point and get this thing back up and functional. And I think WaterSmart, which is also the tie to the billing system, is clearly a tie that we need to have. And so I would encourage you not to take the path of saying we don't do this. I would encourage you to say, I think we actually not only need this from a customer service standpoint, but also from a billing standpoint. And when we fix the meter problems, we need to make sure that this continues down the line. And I'll ask Kevin to also maybe speak on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this to Mayor and Council's attention, because I don't know if it was presented well at the last council meeting, and the discussion that Director Stahl had during his presentation about Mueller. I really just wanted Mayor and Council to understand that this is locking us into 5 more years with Mueller, and Bobby and I's discussions when we were looking at this and going with the 5-year plan was, our view, because of the cost of moving to a new system, really our only option forward is to replace the Mueller system, those nodes and meters. Doing a whole new system would be very cost prohibitive for us right now.
Okay, Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
I'm sorry, and I do understand Director Stahl, but you keep saying we've got to get it fixed, but we don't have a path forward for getting these meters fixed. We don't have there's no solution on the table. There's no communication, no agreement with Mueller that says we're going to get the equipment we need to fix the meters. And and this conversation didn't just start. You shared this with me, weeks ago, that this has been going on for a very long time. They're not cooperative. And if they've not been cooperative, entering into an agreement with WaterSmart and not having a solution to fix the meters for, you said, over half of our residents, when we're not being able to read and get the information from Mueller, I guess I just don't see, the value that's being, given to all of our customers. All of our customers don't have access. I understand good customer service. I totally get it. But we're saying hundreds when we're talking about 3,000 or more residents that have the water. And I guess to lock us into a 5-year agreement, because the $56,000, I just don't, I don't see that as being good customer service when you're not serving all of the customers. And I'll leave it at that. I do understand you want to have something to offer, but I don't think we're offering something. We're only offering something to a few.
Kevin, I got a quick question for you, and then I'm going to go to Councilman Trollinger. Do we have a must sign by X amount of date on the contract? Does the contract's terms expire at such and such a date that we have to accept?
The software as a service agreement must be signed by August 15th of 2021. And I'm not sure, I can look up the quote from Mueller directly. This quote expires August 2nd from Mueller, but I mean, they would probably extend it.
Okay. Councilman
Kevin,
Trump.
can I ask,
Oh,
as I
go ahead.
recall, I don't have the contract sitting in front of me, but as I recall, and also from our, if we don't enter into this agreement with WaterSmart, what are we going to use as the billing interface?
But with Bobby, the MyNet customer portal is what's being ended. We don't pull. That's purely just the resident going on and looking at their water usage. Yeah.
That was going to be my question. Practically speaking, it only affects online portal viewing of our resident, that of which Ms. Bryant Ward or Councilwoman Bryant Ward and unfortunately Mayor Jenkins described that Mayor James described that some of us don't even have access to. So it would not affect, as far as the town staff, more stress as far as billing goes, other than maybe fielding phone calls from people not being able to access MyNet, right?
Yeah, and there are residents and businesses who rely on using this, though.
Sure.
So it.
Kevin, and I guess I'm going to put it. This is the longest discussion after a motion in a second, but I'm going to put this to Kevin, Brent, and Bobby. It seems as though we have a lot, just hearing the discussion, a lot of heartache with this. And we're looking to you guys, now that you've given us the information. I hear Kevin saying that we probably need to accept it, but it's 5 years. I'm not, personally, I'm not as comfortable accepting a 5-year when it's just another thing that Mueller has on us. Brent, what is your suggestion?
This is, obviously the far greater concern is our water meter issue. I think we invite Mueller to our first town work session in August and ask them to provide us with a plan on how they are going to remedy the issues we're having. Also express our concerns, if we do not enter into this agreement for sort of the, I've got up the agreement now. sorry, let me get back to my agenda. With Water Smart, if it's the will of council, that, you know, that we express our concerns. You know, we let them know we're not happy, they're not performing. I think we've heard it from Bobby. I want them to hear it from our council. I think they need to be aware of our dissatisfaction with the level of service we're receiving and have them provide us with sort of a path forward, if you will. And then I don't know that that's going to answer any of our questions, but at least they will understand sort of the level of dissatisfaction we have at this point in time. And then we sort of work from there, because there are great costs associated with us just cutting ties and moving on. You know, the level of service, as Bobby's brought up and Kevin's alluded to, you know, we do have customers that are very tuned in and check their water daily, if you will. As you said, adequately pointed out, you know, maybe half of those customers don't even have access to the system right now. So it's hard to equate, you know, what sort of loss there is. Either way, we have to communicate with our community. If we are not going to enter into this contract, then we need to let them know that at such date that MyNet expires, that service will be discontinued until we can work out with the vendor, you know, an appropriate agreement moving forward to address the concerns we have and basically get our water meters back up and operating, functioning correctly. So, I mean, that would be my path.
Do you think it would be advisable to see, I know that it would have to be you and Bobby to see if they can extend the contract until another month, so that maybe we can get a little bit more comfort and hear it from them and put them on the spot if they do show up to a work session in August. Do you think that we would be able to do that?
Yeah, I think they are in the business of making money and they would extend the quote.
Mayor, one of the things that I might suggest, you know, hog tie me and give me a year. I think Councilwoman Brian Ward made a good point. Maybe what we do is you can authorize us to go and only go with 1 year unless Mueller upgrades and gets the meters back to functioning at a 98% or better level, so that there's incentive on both sides. And maybe that's the mistake, but
if they could honor the price, which I know they won't usually, but you don't know. We can negotiate. Councilman Trollinger.
I can't justify rewarding them. I get what you're saying, Director Stahl, but I share Councilwoman Bryant Ward's frustration here in that WaterSmart has to know that this can't work because of Mueller, and we've got to have some guarantees of some communication here. So I'm with Mr. Manuel about inviting them to explain how this is going to work going forward. But I mean, even if they tie us to another year, obviously that's much better than 5, but you're rewarding them for what? For tying everybody to a system that's failed just because they decided to move on from it.
I agree with you. So just to kind of recap, I hear what all of you are saying. We are not really thrilled with being tied to 5 years to Mueller when they are not performing at a level that is acceptable to our town or our residents. We would like to have them at our work session in August so that we can discuss this, and we would like to have the option, or we would like them to extend the quote that they have given us till at another 30, 60 days, whatever you find advisable, so that we are still able to have that price and then decide after hearing them whether this is the route we'd like to go. Did I capture that pretty much, Council?
So if MyNet is going out of business on the 30th of August, then we would not be able to extend it another 30 or 60 days, maybe at least until the first or second work session, where we might be able to get, I mean, if Mueller hasn't had a conversation, didn't come to a meeting that you guys invited them to, I can't very well think that they're going to come to a meeting that we invite them to, but it's worth a shot. Maybe extend the the contract until maybe the middle of August.
I was just thinking to a month because it's easy, and we can call, instead of a work session, we can actually call a special session if so desired, that we could, if we like what we hear, adopt that instead of, this resolution right here. Does that sound good? All right, so let's take a vote. I have a motion by Jim, seconded by Dave, to accept resolution 21-22 Water Smart Services as presented. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All opposed, say nay.
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 Nay, so 5-0 with the nays, motion fails. Oh, that was a great discussion, guys. All right, moving on to our new business commission reports. We're going to start with Councilman Goldsmith.
Yes, the design review board did not meet this past month. There was no items on the agenda, so no action.
All right, Councilman Trollinger.
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
The Planning Commission will meet on August the 4th because of National Night Out being on August 3rd. For discussion will be the Steeplechase Phase 2, Section 2, Part 3, the final plat, and Heritage Green will come before us, Neighborhood K, the preliminary plat.
Wonderful. Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you. The La Plata Town Center Corporation has a meeting set up for Thursday, July 29th at 8:30 with all the current board members. Agenda and action items will be discussing the status of the corporation, and that is to get back in good standing at the state level, selection of officers, filling of vacancies, talking about a work program and meeting schedule. And the Parks and Recreation Commission will not be meeting until September. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so we have had a lot of action going on in town. If you haven't had the opportunity to go by the Charles or the Market, the mural is all now color blocked off, and they are starting with the design. So that's a very exciting time. It's really livened up there. We've got the train station that will be opening up on the first Saturday of the month. So if you don't have anything else to do, pop on by. This Friday, we have, of course, the concert, but at 6:30, we will have a meet and greet. If people have not been by our town hall, the atrium the walls are covered with the great artwork of a local artist from Port Tobacco. He will be there, Mr. Aziz. And we will also be presenting a couple of awards to a few of the other there's a couple other people that will be receiving awards as well. As mentioned, August 3rd is National Night Out, so a good time to get into the community. And I know council will be going around with the police department to the different communities, so that's always a very fun evening. We're in the process of planning a way to honor the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So you will be hearing more about that, but we will be getting the community involved on Patriot Day, as it is now known, and it's going to be a day of service. Some of the upcoming bands, we've got Girl Crush coming, and this is a new one that has the acoustic guitars. And it's with Hannah, who used to be the lead for Trilogy. We have the U.S. Navy Band coming. We have Motown Butter. We have rescheduled Bobby McKee's. They will be coming on a Thursday, the last Thursday of August. And then Friday, Flippin' Eyelids will close out our series. Friday, August 27th, will close out our summer series. We have coming up on August 17th, Groovy Nate. And Groovy Nate is a children's entertainer who creates fun and educational shows using exotic music instruments and puppet skills, a la Sesame Street meets Parliament Funkadelic. So kind of sounds kind of neat. And then on August 24th, Raptor's Eyes will be there that come and meet live birds of prey, such as the hawks, the owls, and the falcons, and learn about their adaptation that makes them masters of the sky and why they are very important to us. So those are on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. We have 2 more of those, and the attendance has been amazing. This last one was the science guy, and it was pretty much packed. Lastly, I would like to publicly say goodbye to 3 people that are moving on from our great town. Roger Carr, as Director Stahl said. Fred Sussman is our attorney. We have hired a new attorney, Jay Gullo, and we look forward to working with him. And Captain Becker, after 4 years of service with the town of La Plata, he is moving on to his retirement job up there in Queen Anne's County to investigate up there. So we wish him much luck up there as well, and thank him for his service to the town of La Plata. With that said, that's all I have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a second? You got to give this one to Matt. Okay, Matt.
Thanks.
I was thinking the same thing.
It's always a race. It's always a race. I will second that motion. Thank
All
you.
right. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You guys did amazing tonight. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great week. Take care.
Thank you to the staff.
Yes. Meeting adjourned
Thank you.
officially.
Thank you.